Hey, Rashad, what time is it?
It's right now,
Live on
live on
Rite
Right
Now
Now
Radio.
Radio.
Let's go. Yeah, so we got Mr. Rashad Price in the building. I'm Rashad Robinson. It's always good to meet another Rashad, by the way. They can't steal
Yes,
our
sir.
thunder with our name or nothing. Thunder and lightning. Yeah, so tonight, well, today, it's a beautiful day out here. Got a beautiful sunset over here. Got a baseball game going on with the Biscuits. I may go to the game after this. But Shad is also an IT professional as well. His background is in network security and also Linux, similar to mine. But I see you started your tech journey back in 2015. You've been there for a while, and say now you're a cloud engineer. You've been a system engineer, but tell me, what ask what like, well, what led you to pursue technology?
Actually, it was my previous career as a gang intervention and prevention specialist that led me to technology and to
Mm-hmm.
the IT field. So I was working with some youngins in the community that was involved with gangs, and we had started a travel basketball team for those guys. And I had two rival gangs playing on the same team. Now, if you know
Wow.
anything about working with young people that's on the street that's actually making moves, like you can't come to them and be like, all right, well, let's get you this part-time job working at McDonald's. It don't work that way. You
Mm-mm.
have to figure out a way to replace what they're making on the street with something positive. So you working with somebody that's making two, three, $400 a day, but they're doing it the wrong way. You got to figure out a way to replace that same money because that's the only thing that's going to really interest them. So me and my
Uh-oh.
assistant coach who's actually and I, we both was like, okay, what can we do? So we
Right,
was like, all
right.
right, let's look at all the careers. A lot of money and didn't necessarily require them to go to college because a lot of these guys weren't going to go to college anyway. So that's kind of how we started, and then we ended up getting with this African guy named Didion who owns his own consulting firm and does some training. And the first training that me and my assistant coach did was AWS.
Oh man, that's awesome. So how did they actually like
And it was
AWS?
funny because I was like, yeah, straight to AWS, straight to cloud. And
Wow.
neither one of us knew anything about Linux. We didn't know basic networking, anything. Like
Mhm.
we went in that joint just, all right, we just doing it because we got to do it first. Because if we do it first, then the youngest gonna follow us. Um, you
True.
know,
That's true.
he was able to my boy Hall. He was able to transition over first because he was in a different life situation to me at the time. So he was able to transfer over first and get into the IT space first. But I mean, his first job, he was making like 125, 130. And
Ooh. And cloud?
that was yeah, in cloud.
Ooh,
Um
man,
and
it's killing.
what yeah. So what ended up happening was I was like, all right, well, we brought that back to the youngins and he was like, all right, this is the path. This is the way you can do it.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2015. It's 2023, and I can say out of that group of guys that we had, if you know anything about working in community youth development, you know that
Oh
you're not
yeah.
going to save everybody.
Absolutely.
If you got a group of 20 kids, you might get two or three of them to listen to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
out of that
know.
two or three, one of them
Yeah.
will probably become really, really successful. And I can honestly say, out of that group of guys that we had a group of like 14 guys that played for us that was on two
Hmm.
rival gangs, and five of those guys went into IT do workshops just like yourself. And one of them
Ooh.
actually did a workshop for me because he works for one of the top recruiting IT recruiting firms in the DMV. So
Wow.
that path that we took, man, it ended up helping, at least some of the guys. And it was funny. I didn't even know. It's funny because I didn't even know that this particular kid.
Oh, wait a second. We're breaking up just a little bit.
with us and teach the kids stuff on the road. And I literally have a picture of him and one of the other guys on the team on the laptop working on the Linux command line back in 2015.
That's
And, you know,
awesome.
it's 2023. And I was like, well, his name is Ted. I said, well, tell you how much you making now. He's like, hey, coach, I'm 6 figures. You know, so I got a condo, got a dog, I'm a girlfriend, like I'm living. You know what I'm
Oh
saying? So,
man.
you know, that's the reason why I really got in IT. I mean, personally, it took me a little bit longer because my personal story, like in 2015, when I decided to go into IT, uh, because of working with gangs and trying to make that transition, I went to my wife at the time and I was like, this is the plan. This is what I want to do. And we end up from 2015 to 2018, we going through a rough time and a divorce. So, you
Mm.
know, that's part of that's part of my journey in IT. Like I had to turn down jobs for years. Once I got, you know, my AWS certification, and got my Linux certification, I turned down jobs because if you know anything about the court system and divorce, you know that you can't go from making 50,000 to making 170 and don't expect, you know, the other person to try to take all of it. So it took me a little bit longer, but it was a blessing
Haters
because
like that, man.
yeah, I
Haters
mean, but
like
it was,
that.
you know, it was a blessing. I didn't understand it at the moment, but it was definitely a blessing because, you know, when I finally got my IT position, um, I went from making 73 to like 110, and all that stuff had been taken care of. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to worry about that. I was way past divorce or whatever. Um, and then, man, I met, you know, I'm married again, with my current wife, and she met me on the upswing. So she met me, you know, when I'm fully engaged in IT, and you know, I make $350,000 a year, and I work from home.
Mm.
Just being a systems admin, and my part time is for Oracle for the cloud
Wow.
engineering stuff, and that's Saturdays and Sundays. They pay me 6 figures to work 2 days a week.
Wow.
You
So,
know, it's
tell
something.
me, a lot of people now, I work from home as well. I'm a network security engineer. I work with firewalls, Palo
Mhm,
Alto and F5 equipment. But a lot of people now want to work from home as well, and stack various remote jobs. Like,
mhm.
what do you think is the best way to do that without violating your non-disclosure agreement for your current company?
You just gotta be upfront. Don't take a job that won't allow you to work multiple jobs. Like, now I'm in a position now where like I have a clearance. So, I'm always going to be good in that department as far as like being able to get a position. But my
Mhm.
current company that I work for, I always go to them. I'm like, listen, another company want to pay me this. What y'all gonna do? And then sometimes, like I was looking for another job, and my current company was like, listen, if you got the time, we can get you. You can stay on another contract part time. So a lot of times, if you're just upfront and like, hey, you know, I'm going to look for another position anyway, and just say, hey, I'm going to look for another part-time position, weekends or whatever. Do you guys have another contract that you don't need somebody to be full-time on? So a lot of these contracts, they just need somebody on. And one of my mentors who's been in IT for 25, 30 years, he works on like 7, 8 different contracts, and he literally does 10% here, 30% here. And they're able to break his time down like that because he has a skill set. And the best thing I can say is if you develop that skill set and you develop a specialty in something, a lot of people are hire you. They're not going to care that you're working on the project. They just want to know that you're going to get the job done. And I've never, how like when people first get in IT, they tell you to lie on your resume, and
No,
um,
don't ever do that.
that's what people tell you to do. And I
Yeah,
never did that.
some have. That
Yeah, that's
doesn't
what some
work.
people tell you to do. And I'm like, why do that? My I've only gotten jobs that I'm totally qualified to do, right?
Hmm.
So it hasn't been a situation where like I get on the job and not know what to do because I'm only going after positions that I'm qualified to do. Now, will it take a little bit longer to get that position sometimes? Yeah. But once you get in it, you can breathe a little bit because now you're not worried about, dang, like I don't know, I really don't know how to do this. I don't know what's gonna happen. So like,
I don't get
even though
past the first week when they do that.
yeah, but so even though, I can do some cloud engineering work, I'm not a coder. I'm not a coding guy. I've been on interviews and they asked me, well, what kind of scripts have you run? I said I copied them from GitHub and GitLab, like every other engineer does. So you just got to be honest with people. Well, and they're like, well, how would you solve this problem? I said, well, first I would go on Google, then I would go on to GitLab, and I would look at the repositories and see if another developer has done it already.
Huh?
Like, a lot of it is just being honest, and I've been able to keep multiple jobs just being honest. So even for the job for
Okay.
Oracle, they was like, well, we're looking for somebody that can work full time, and I'm like, well, I can't do that. I can work Saturday and Sunday. These are the times I got available. And if they would have been like, oh, okay, well, we can't hire you for those days, we're looking for somebody to work, because they wanted somebody to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I was like, I can work Saturday and Sunday,
Are
and
they
I
still
was
hiring?
going to be fine. Yeah.
Are they still hiring?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, man.
Now, if you have a well, if you have a like once again, I have the advantage of having a clearance. So if you have a clearance, then
Yeah,
I can
I
just
do.
fly anybody. I can just give you I can just give you the recruiter's name and he'll
Okay.
see if he can
All
get you
right.
on.
All right. Cool.
So that ain't no issue. Um, but yeah, man, like it's just really really being honest. Even with my company now, like I was working for them for 3 months, and I went to them and asked for a $30,000 raise after 3 months, and they was and
Let's get it.
you know of course I got it. But
Duh,
I
don't
got
ask me that. He's like,
yeah.
duh, don't ask me that.
No, I got it. I got it because I understood how government contracting works. Like if you paying me 110, you at least making 170, 180 off me.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's
So
what I
no
think too.
matter what I ask for, they're gonna no matter what I ask for, they're most likely gonna say yes, but counter with something lower, and I'm fine with that. So what happened was they placed me on a dead contract, and this was the very first contract I was ever on. I had another lady who looked out for me, um, who had been in the game for a while. So she was like, "Listen, this is a dead contract. I'm about to leave to get another one because this one's dead." But she told me what to do. She was like, "Hey, um, just ask for more money because the contract only lasts another 3 months." And then I did that. I was like, "Well, everybody's leaving the contract. I would like the extra 30,000 because I'm doing most of the work because no one's there." And there was the
Hmm.
president of the company, because a lot of times for contracting companies, small companies. So the president of the company sat me down, was just like, "Hey, man, do you like working for us?" I said, "I love it." And he's like, "So you only been here 3 months?
Yeah.
30,000 a lot to ask for." And my exact response was, "You're absolutely right, but I've only been here for 3 months. This is a dead contract, but you need somebody to finish it out, and I'm willing to finish the contract if
Hmm.
you pay me a little bit more." And so he was like, "All right, we can't do 30, but we can give you 20 and give you $10,000 cash signing bonus, a cash bonus to state. And we'll give it to you in December. How about that?" I was like, "All right, cool." You know what I'm saying?
Man,
And then
it's amazing.
yeah, I mean, and then it's a lot of it is just being personable with people. Your people skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of IT is like that. If you have good people skills and you can work with folks, then you should be fine. Um, if you come in there and you don't act like you a know-it-all, and you just trying to like be a part of a team, you're gonna be fine. I mean, I work with guys who been working 30, 40 years, and there's things that I knew that they didn't know at all.
Such as
And
what? What's like one area you think you brought new to the table that they weren't familiar with?
um, some things about versioning, because technology is constantly changing. So like somebody could be working and doing this one thing for 20 years and be great at it, and then a new technology comes out, they haven't learned it yet. But if you are getting into technology, you're learning all the new stuff. So just being able to do different tricks and tips and stuff like that to make work a lot easier. I mean, even something as simple as using Chat GPT, a lot of the old heads ain't using it. And I'm
Right.
like, why are you gonna sit here and write this code for 2 weeks, and you can just go into Chat GPT, and if you learn how to write basically ask it the right questions, on what you're trying to code and what you're trying to do, it'll spit out something for you. It might not be 100% right, but you'll get 90% of your work done, and now you can just work on the errors and fixing the script. Like, so there, it's little things like that.
Man, yeah. And what's your experience with chat GPT? Make sure I got those letters right. What's your experience with that? Have you worked a lot with it?
Yeah, so like, man, I started working with Chat GPT like 3 months ago. I'm what I've learned is you got to be part of the first wave of any new technology if you want to stay ahead of the game. You want to get paid the most money. You got to be part of the first people who get trained when the wave is happening. So you got to kind of keep your ear to the ground. Okay, Chat GPT been out since 2015, but it ain't really been popular until like the last 6 months. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you're part of the first wave, I'm on here trying to start businesses with it. I have my old job for the county. Those guys that's working with gangs, I did a presentation for them to use Chat GPT to like help them with their paperwork. Because, for that job, you're in the community. You don't get to sit down in front of the computer all the time, and you still got to get your paperwork done. You got to do gang presentations, and I showed them, how they can do their presentations and have Chat GPT write their presentations for them and do their slideshows for them in less than 2-3 minutes. So they're spending 4 or 5 hours trying to do something because they need to be out in the street working in the community. And they pay me for that. So, and it's something, so it's like using that at work now, like I said, I use it to write. I mean, the last thing I did for a project was write a script with Chat GPT. And all I did was, when we have within Jira for my Jira ticket, it had a description of some type of configuration tool they wanted to make. I copied and pasted the description in Chat GPT and said, hey, create me a tool based on the description. And it did, and it had some errors. And then I went to one of the other developer guys who's more experienced than me. And I said, I got the foundation. What do I need to fix? And he just went from there.
Okay, that's awesome.
And he started laughing, and the guy started laughing at him because he was like, "Oh man, I thought I was the only one using Chat GPT. I said you're using it too." And and he's a senior guy.
No, you thought you were the only one, huh, guy? Yeah. Man, so what's your experience in applying for those civilian jobs or USA jobs? The GS-12 and 13 gigs? Because a few of my colleagues have told me it's better to use the online resume builder than trying to upload your Word document resume. What do you think? Or what's your experience and success with that?
When you're trying to do USA jobs, the thing that I found out about USA jobs is you got to be very specific, bro. That's one of the hardest. Like USA jobs is one of the hardest places
Tell me about
it. In the contract and government space, because they have there's no human being looking at your resume on USA jobs. And people need to understand that not during the first round when they're just pulling resumes. So you have to recreate your resume from almost every job that you apply to fit the words and the descriptions of, whatever job you're applying to in USA jobs. That's one of the hardest places that you're going to apply to jobs.
Yes, man. Because I say, I've been on USA jobs since I was in college. I was 2006, 2007. Last year, I got my first callback interview for NSA in Georgia. I was blown away. I thought I had graduated again because they finally wrote me back with some good news. I kept getting, I got so many kickbacks from them. Yeah, I'm saying I got so many kickbacks from them for over years. I'm like, dude, I work in IT now. Why are y'all still rejecting me?
It's really just because they have a system and some type of algorithm that just parses out resumes based on keywords that are in the descriptions that they want for jobs. And if you don't have that actual keyword or phrase in your resume, it doesn't pick it up and pull it. But that's the thing,
automatically rejects it, huh? I said it's gonna automatically reject it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't feel like you need USA jobs to apply for jobs now. The best thing that you can do is when you find a job, go directly to the website. That's the
Yeah, the
best thing you
company
can do. Go
website.
directly to the
Yeah,
website.
the company website, right?
Yeah, go directly to the website. Yeah, like when I sometimes I'll go on Indeed.com and I don't do the automatic apply. I'll literally I'll click on the company and then I'll apply. And I told this because I got a group of guys that I meet with on Thursdays that's trying to get in IT, right? So we just, do interview prep and we just talk strategy and stuff like that. And I was telling those guys, I'm like, listen, when you apply to a job, you go to these companies, I said, no matter what the position is, apply to all of them. If you're trying to get in, if you're just trying to get in, because a lot of them ain't in yet. So you just say, all right, well, if they got 40 jobs available in your area, just apply to all of them. Because all the company's going to do is pick you for the best one they feel like your resume can fit, especially if you get an interview. And so it's like, that's what I tell people. And people don't, like, one of the guys I work with, his name was Desi. He was like, well, how many jobs did you apply to before you got your first IT job? I said about 500.
You know what? I probably go with the thousands.
Yeah, I mean, it was never in there. I said it was a job. I said, but the reward far outweighs that work you got to do trying to get the job. I said, and the one thing that I loved and appreciated later on is how prepared I was for my interviews once I got past a certain point.
Yeah.
Because from my first interview to like maybe my 30th interview, it was just learning. It was learning like the phrases, learning definitions of different IT things.
That's what I did. That's what I
Yeah,
did too. But before I got my first job in the help desk, I think I did 2 Microsoft Windows Administrator job interviews because I wanted to see, number one, what were some of the job duties that I would do every day. I would learn the operating system, how to configure some of the Windows functions, even system backups. So, learning, like I said, the terminology that people use, those kind of things. So I'd be familiar with my present jobs that I've had.
yeah. And what's funny is I always started like when they start asking me during the interview process, do I know I do this, do that? And like I would never lie. I'm like, you know what? I don't know how to
Nah,
do that yet. I haven't gotten there. I said,
nah.
but I'm willing to learn. And that was
I,
my main thing.
you
And then
know
I
what?
came across. Go ahead.
It's no that's no reason why we probably had the same name because just being completely honest. Because I said the exact
Yeah,
same words. I said, listen, haven't done that yet, but I'm ready. I'm willing to learn. I said in as many interviews, and actually a lot of people were pleased with that alone. And jobs that I've
yeah.
actually gotten because of that. Yeah.
And my strategy is like I'm Mr. YouTube University. If I'm applying to a job, and I will go on YouTube, like I would go on that job description and I figure out what technologies they're using and what for this job description, and I'll take at least a couple of hours to learn the basics of it. So
Right.
I know at least I know I can talk a little bit about it. And I'll just find like a little small project to do. You know what I'm saying? I'll do a little lab about it. And I can say, well, I have done this. And what I found out is those interviewers and those team leads and people that are on those calls, they appreciate if you're a person who is a self-motivated person to learn. Because when I tell people, well, I taught myself Linux, but I learned AWS Cloud first. Like, how do you do that? I was like, it was backwards. It was
Right.
the phrase is it was reverse engineering.
Right.
So
Man.
I had to do some reverse engineering,
That's
and
engineer.
that's just what it is.
So for people who may
And
not be
I got
familiar, I'm sorry, but for people who probably not familiar, how would you just describe reverse engineering?
it's basically like tackling a project from, I want to say, like the top down. So instead of starting off on a foundational easy level, let's say if you want to complete a task, you start from the hard part first, and you kind of like peel back the onion, so to speak. So like you
Mm-hmm.
start at the top, you start peeling back the onion. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, working with AWS, right? One of the first things I had to do is spin up a virtual machine. right?
Wow.
And
I love VMs, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, so I had to spin up a virtual machine because if you don't know how to spin up a virtual machine, you can't connect the AWS EC2 to your Linux box and start using the command line to do things in your Linux box. But
Mhm.
here's the thing: I didn't know what a Linux box was.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do? Now you have to go back. Okay, you need to do this. You need to start this virtual machine. You need to connect it to your Linux box. Now I'm gonna do some reverse engineering because I know, okay, this is the end goal. Let me go down a level. Well, what is a Linux box? Okay, how do you download a Linux box? You know what I'm saying? How do you connect the Linux box to the AWS EC2?
Mhm.
Okay, dang. So I got to get the IP address. I got to SSH into the Linux box from the EC2. Well, what's SSH? So it's basically you're doing everything backwards, but you're learning.
Yeah. I see.
And it's like once you do it,
Done it.
honestly, this is what I tell people that's trying to get into IT, and they think that it's super hard. I said, when you learn it, it's going to be hard. But once you learn it, it's repetitive. You know, it's almost like it's you learn it and it's hard, right? It's hard to learn, hard to learn. Then it's easy and it's repetitive, and then the technology changes, and you got to learn that technology. But now you have the foundation, so it's a little bit easier to learn the new stuff,
Yep.
and then it's
Yep.
repetitive again. And that's the constant cycle of the IT space. And then it's so many different IT things in IT that you can do that's non-technical. So like I'm in a process of pivoting from doing more technical work to doing more laid back easy work. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying
Yeah.
to become a scrum master.
So you
like
also told me too, that you're also a CEO. So being with two CEOs now, and congratulations on that. What's the name of your company and what will your company focus on? Oh, I think we froze a little bit here. Uh-oh. Yo, yeah, we did.